Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews. And since I have seen the new Mortal Kombat movie, which I don't want to give any of my thoughts away on that right now. I want to kind of save that for the review later. Kind of made me want to go back and talk about the first two movies. Mainly because I've never really sat down and discussed the first two Mortal Kombat movies. And I've always wanted to. I've always wanted to cover them. I don't know why I've never really done that before. Just maybe not having the time to. But I've always wanted to sit down, especially talk about the movie I'm talking about today. But for those wondering, I'm just going to be reviewing this, Annihilation, and the new Mortal Kombat movie. I won't be talking about Legacy or Scorpion's Revenge, mainly because I haven't seen those yet, and also because Legacy is, I think, a TV series, and Scorpion's Revenge, I want to say it's an animated movie. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know anything about them. But yeah, maybe one day I'll talk about those projects eventually. Especially Scorpion's Revenge. I've heard a lot of great things about Scorpion's Revenge. But tonight is the first review. I'm talking about the very first Mortal Kombat, which came out in 1995, gets a 5.8 on IMDb, and I think was like Paul W.S. Anderson's, I want to say his debut, or at least one of his big first movies. And Paul W.S. Anderson is a director that, honestly, I think gets a bad rap. I mean, there's a few movies I haven't seen. There's also a few movies that I wasn't a really big fan of, but to be honest, I don't hate AVP. I don't think it's a masterpiece or anything, but I don't hate that movie. As far as the Resident Evil movies go, I enjoyed the first movie which he made. I really enjoyed the second movie, and I really enjoyed the third movie, but everything after that I kind of really didn't care for. And he's made quite a few big, well-known films, and this is one of his first hits. And Mortal Kombat from 95, I mean, this was a big deal movie. It's like on the level of, like, I wouldn't say it was as big as Batman, because Batman was a freaking mega hit, but this movie was quite a big hit back then. It was definitely a blockbuster, and, you know, a lot of people were talking about it back then. It was a very just well-known thing that was going on, and it was a really big movie from the 90s, and I remember the first time I heard about this movie. I had no clue growing up there was a Mortal Kombat movie. I did not know this. Actually, the first time I remember hearing about this movie was, I think I was watching a movie on VHS, because I was old school growing up. I liked VHS tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. But I think I was watching a VHS, and I seen the commercial for this movie on that VHS, and I was like, what? Like, I had no clue there was a Mortal Kombat movie. And I think the first time I seen this movie was on VHS, and then I have it on DVD here somewhere, but I didn't dig it out for the review. It's in my collection somewhere. And if I'm being honest, I'm a really big fan of this first movie. I think it's still one of the greatest game adaptations out there. Now, is it absolutely flawless? No. But there's this new trend going on, which kind of goes both ways, where since the new movie's out, people are trying to say this movie's garbage, and also it's flip-flopped. People are now saying this movie's the Holy Grail and the new movie's garbage. I'm over here, it's cool if people have those opinions, but I'm over here saying I love both. I love both adaptations. And especially this one too, because I think it really does capture a great essence of the video game. And I mean, the video game was something that you could adapt into a movie. I mean, back then there wasn't too many things that you could adapt into movies. I mean, maybe Tomb Raider. I mean, this is before Resident Evil. This is before a lot of the more mainstream games that, you know, we hear about today. I know there was like a Super Mario Brothers movie that came out around that time in the 90s, which I honestly thought was a fun film. I didn't hate that movie. But this was one of those movies. I think there was also a Street Fighter movie, but, you know, it was really one of the first films to really grasp the concept of the game and successfully turn it into a movie. And I mean, the plot of Mortal Kombat, the games, there's not really much of a plot there, but you could make that into movies. And that was the cool thing about this concept, is it completely worked. And the story is very basic. Shang Tsung is having a tournament called Mortal Kombat. A select few fighters go there to win. Whoever can beat Shang Tsung saves the world. And they've won, I think Outworld's won 9 tournaments. And if they win one more, they can take over the world. And so it's a very basic plot. You have Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade. They go to this island, and you also have Kano in there. You have Sub-Zero that's there. You have Scorpion that's there. You have Shang Tsung, which is the big head honcho of the island. You have Goro that's there. And they have to go through various opponents to kind of try to defeat Shang Tsung. Liu Kang's brother's been murdered by Shang Tsung, so he's out to get revenge. Johnny Cage wants to prove that he's not a phony actor. And Sonya's there to get revenge for her partner's death. And so she fights Kano for that. And this movie just has a lot of stuff going for it. And like I said, I don't get the trend of hating on this movie now. There are a few issues, which I'll get into in a second. But to get into the positives real quick, this movie is shot really, really well. Like, this movie's visually, like, the visuals of this film and the set design of this movie and the atmosphere, I thought was nailed. It just looks great. All the different environments they fight in, the woods area, the kind of hell-looking area that Scorpion's at. Just the various designs of the temples and just different arenas they fight in, the outdoor areas. Even the way that Outworld looks, I really enjoyed that look for Outworld in this movie. And I just think that the environments, the set design was really good looking. Another great thing is the cast. The cast in this movie I thought was wonderful. Christopher Lambert as Raiden. I honestly didn't mind him as Raiden. I know some people hate him as Raiden. I really don't understand that. My only complaint is that I wish Raiden had more to do in this movie, because they put Raiden in here and he doesn't fight anybody or doesn't really do anything, and he's kind of in the background for most of the movie. And what's crazy is, like, Annihilation gave him a lot more to do. Like, he has a couple fight scenes in that. Granted, still, honestly, if you think about it, doesn't have a whole lot to do in Annihilation, or even the new movie. So, like, I don't know why they don't give Raiden anything to do with these movies. You have Robin Shaw playing Liu Kang. In my opinion, just the best Liu Kang. In my opinion, captures the essence of Liu Kang, the character, and really, he is Liu Kang. Like, whenever I think of Liu Kang, I think of Robin Shaw. I think he nailed it as Liu Kang. And it's really a shame, because Robin Shaw made this movie. I remember Beverly Hills Ninja. I think he was in Death Race. He's in a few other movies here and there, but didn't really do a whole lot after this. Of course, he was one of the few that came back for the sequel, Annihilation. But you also got Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage, nailed Johnny Cage. I thought the guy who played Shang Tsung did a great job. Brigitte Wilson, I thought she did a great job as Sonya Blade. Just a lot of people in this cast I really enjoyed. I thought that, the guy who played Shang Tsung, the guy that played Scorpion, Sub-Zero, they did a good job. No lines, but just the captured the essence of those characters. The girl that played Katana did a pretty good job as well. Katana in this movie literally does nothing, but I can honestly forgive it, because in the first game, they're basically basing this off the first game. And the first Mortal Kombat game, Katana she wasn't in the game at all. So, I guess I can kind of forgive that in a way. But even then, it's like, you put Katana in there. She has like one little scene with Liu Kang, just to teach him, basically to focus on his fights and stuff like that. But I think that they're just a great cast here. I mean, Johnny Cage is nailed. The camaraderie and the you believe that Liu Kang and Johnny Cage and Sonya are friends. At first, they're strangers. They don't know each other. They don't even trust each other. By the end of the movie, they kind of grow to become friends and as a team. And I think that was something that was totally lost in Annihilation. That, and as well as a lot of things that were lost in Annihilation. That's one of the big things that was lost in Annihilation, unfortunately, was that sense of teamwork. But this cast had great chemistry. You totally believed them as friends. And they all could do some good martial arts. I mean, even Lyndon Ashby and Bridget Wilson, which I'm not sure if they had a whole lot of background in martial arts, they did what they could. And I thought Robin Shaw did a great job with the martial arts aspect. His fight scenes are awesome. And there's a great list of fights in this movie. Scorpion versus Johnny Cage. Sub-Zero versus Liu Kang, which it's a good fight, but the ending of that fight I kind of thought was a little weak. That's like the one fight in the movie where I was like, the ending of that fight was kind of weak because literally Sub-Zero basically kills himself. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. But yeah, Reptile versus Liu Kang, one of the best fights in the movie. Liu Kang taking on Shang Tsung, which was one of the best fights of the movie. Johnny Cage versus Gore, which was a great fight. Sonya versus Kano, which was a great fight. Give me a break. Okay. Breaks his neck. Yeah, great fight scenes. You have good direction by Paul W.S. Anderson. Some great, fantastic music in this movie. Without a doubt, one of the best soundtracks out there. I mean, the main theme song is so iconic that you hear to this day. And you heard it in the newer Mortal Kombat movie. It was kind of remixed and remade. But you still hear that music. It's so iconic and so it fits Mortal Kombat. And it's cool that it comes from this movie. Like, this movie is what caused, that to happen. And a lot of early EDM in this movie, which like 95, EDM was not heard of back then. So it was really cool. We had this techno EDM style, which really, honestly, a lot of movies back then weren't using techno EDM music. And I noticed that after Mortal Kombat, a lot of movies did. I mean, you've seen that kind of stuff in Matrix and Blade and also Annihilation. I mean, a lot of movies after this would start using techno and EDM music. So the music I thought was great, fit this movie perfectly. The dialogue, well, how do you know she's there? I can smell her perfume. I smell something. Bullshit. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, huh? What do you guys gotta say? We're standing and they're not. More do you want? And I like how Raiden's like, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But tell me, what do you intend to do about them? And I love how Raiden throughout the movie is like, I don't think so. That's kind of his whole thing he has going on in the movie. I think that's great. There's a lot of great dialogue in this movie. A lot of memorable dialogue. I will say that these characters have a lot more memorable traits to them compared to the newer movies. The newer film. There's not newer movies. It's just one newer film. But I'll say that the characteristic little traits here and there. Those were $500 sunglasses, asshole. Just little things here and there that I kind of picked up on. I pay the money, you carry the bags. There's a lot more memorable lines of dialogue from these characters than compared to the newer movie. I will say that. Just really well written movie. I just think that the fight scenes are intense, well choreographed, great action. The movie's really, really fast. It's about an hour and 40 minutes. Goes by pretty fast, to be honest. 41 minutes. And it goes by pretty fast. It really does. It goes by in a flash. But yeah, overall, it's got a lot of great things to it. If I had any problems, it would probably be the main one is the CGI effects. None, and I mean absolutely none, of the CGI effects in this movie hold up. Necessarily, do I blame the movie? I mean, for the time that it was made, it was the mid-90s. CGI just came out. They were just starting to use digital effects, and so I'm kind of lenient on the film. I mean, it's a movie from '95, so this is early day CGI. But that is a problem. There are certain scenes that totally look just not real. Whenever Shang Tsung takes Sonya to the Outworld portal, that is awful. All the just establishing shots of Outworld are all CGI. To me, that looked horrible. Just the enhancements, the anything digital, anything CGI to me in this movie looked really bad. I'm not a fan of how Scorpion's spear is in this movie. How when he shoots it out, it has a mouth and they basically made it a creature. I didn't like that, and they made it kind of worse in the second movie because there are like multiple spears. I wasn't a fan of that. Sub-Zero gets cut off really easy, and to a degree, Scorpion does too. Just the way they die is like, wow, really? Like, that's how fast they die. Katana really has nothing to do in this movie. She's just there. The whole ending, Sonya really didn't have anything to do. Neither did Katana or Johnny Cage. They literally all just sit there and watch Liu Kang and Shang Tsung fight. And I'm like, at least you could have brought somebody in this movie to help out Shang Tsung. I mean, it's Outworld. Bring in Baraka. You know, around this time you had Baraka, you could have had them versus Baraka. Now, granted, it's the first movie, but it's Outworld. There's all kinds of enemies in Outworld. And it just didn't make sense to me how they all just sat there and watched Liu Kang and Shang Tsung fight. You know, I don't know. It just kind of always bothered me. The end of the movie, I thought was, and I know this sounds like a lot of stuff, but really this is my last problem. And they're all just nitpicks. They're not really problems to me. I love this movie, so they're not really big problems, but they're just little nitpicks. But the end of the movie always bugged me as well, where you have Shao Kahn pop up and say, "I'll take over the world, I'll swallow your soul," type of stuff. And I was like, how does this happen? They won the tournament, they beat Shang Tsung. How is he merging with Earth? I didn't understand that, but I guess they were going to explain in the sequel, which, how much did they explain of that? Nothing. They just said, well, when one door closes, others can be opened, or some crap like that, which, unfortunately, I got to cover that shitty-ass Annihilation film, because that's one of the worst movies ever made, to me. Just so horrible. But yeah, this movie, to me, is a classic. I really enjoy it. I'm going to give it probably a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. It's a fun time. It's an entertaining time. It's a fast-paced film. Moves very, very fast. And overall, I really enjoy the first Mortal Kombat. I think it's a great film. But anyways, guys, if you've seen Mortal Kombat, let me know in the comments below what your guys' thoughts on this movie are. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys later. Explorer 4 is out. Peace.